afternoon to everyone. My name is Divya Patel and I am the sales manager at Messe Frankfurt, India, and also your host for today's session. Now, the last couple of months have been such a learning for most of us. I think it's only fair to say that we've all adapted to the new normal. In fact, we are more than ready now. However, there's this lingering question that a lot of people ask me, knowing I work so closely with the lighting industry. And the question is, what is UV lighting? I had a textbook definition, but I know that's not good enough. Just like me, most of us don't know much about UV lighting, and it's about time we change it. What do you say? Give me a thumbs up in the chat box if you agree and you're looking forward to know more. Perfect, thank you. And so the aim today would be to understand UVC lighting and its application, the potency in sterilization and disinfection, its impact in the lighting industry and the market size for these kind of products, and most importantly, the benefit and the risk involved in using UVC lighting. I'd like to welcome Mr. Biju John, Managing Director, ITWIS Innovation and founder of Roshni Bazaar. That's India's first exclusive online market for lighting. He has been a part of the lighting industry for more than 26 years, and he has an excellent track record for being a true techno-commercial leader and a creative entrepreneur with strong leadership qualities. Mr. Biju, thank you so much for joining in as a knowledge partner and moderator for today's session. Also, I'd like to welcome our esteemed panelist, Mr. B.S. Praveen. He is the CEO and MD at BAG Electronic. BAG Electronics is a renowned German company having its core expertise in the lighting electronics sector. They are into the manufacturing of lighting control gear and cater to almost all kinds of lighting. They specialize in control gears for high-performing, reliable lighting for malls, industries, mega buildings, offices, retail and luxury stores as well. Also welcoming Mr. Partha Bane, who's the president at Indiabulls LED. Now, he has been the guiding force behind creating a large business institutional for consumer LED lighting segment in India. Their prime focus is to provide reliable, sustainable, and technological advanced LED lighting products to the Indian consumer, which is completely manufactured in India. So that's great, Mr. Bane. Now that you all know the speakers, I think it's about time they know you as well. There's going to be a question that's going to come up on your screen. Please select the relevant option so we get to know you. Thank you. Can we have the question? Perfect. So which industry do you belong to? I'm very excited to know who's there in the audience today. Okay, I think we can have the answer to this poll now. Oh, perfect. So we've got 55% of LED lighting manufacturers, and we've got dealers and distributors as well, a good 12%. We've got designers, architects as well. And there are 25% of curious others like me who want to know more about the UV technology. So, Mr. John, over to you. Please begin.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you so much. This is another era for lighting industry, and of course, those who are already there in control and project business as well. That survival part is already over. We are now not talking about the industry survival after COVID or during COVID. Everyone is now discussing about how to build up the new industries, whether it is lighting manufacturing or whether it is a project business. So everyone is curious how we can build our industry in a better way, because we are already in a VUCA world. So we need to do something different. And there are a lot of demand for new knowledge and new skill as well. And I would sincerely appreciate Messe Frankfurt team for taking initiative for this type of knowledge sessions. It is much required because everyone is eagerly looking for the new opportunity, and knowledge is very much required for new opportunities. So today we are going to address uh, all about UV systems, benefits of UV. So I'm calling it as the magic of UVC. So we are getting in deep regarding the technology and potential of UVC. So like I said, this is another transition where we already had a lot many changeovers from fluorescent lighting to LED and then to automation. Now, after this pandemic, we could see a very big opportunity in something like UV business. But the challenge is to first understand the knowledge and understand the depth of this technology and the challenges of developing this technology to further business potential. So for the beginners, let us understand what is UVC. I'm not taking much time for this slide. UVC, as it stands for ultraviolet C category, is part of electromagnetic spectrum of sunlight with a different wavelength. So if you see, the visible light comes under a wavelength of 400 to 700 nanometer, and the ultraviolet UV, it comes between 100 and 400 nanometer. And again, this is classified into UVA and UVB and UVC, depends on the difference in nanometer variations. Now, if you see the complete electromagnetic spectrum, so starts from gamma till radio. So there are different wavelengths of energy which is coming from sun, which is generated from the sun. But if you look at the light which is coming to the earth surface, hardly 5% of the total sunlight is UV. Only 5% of the total sunlight, and 55% of the sunlight which is reaching earth is infrared, and 42 to 43% is visible light, which is again 400 to 700 nanometer. Now in UV, like I mentioned, there are three different categories based on their wavelength difference. One is called UVA, UVB, and UVC. And UVA, 95% of the UV lighting which is reaching to Earth's surface is UVA. And UVB, a part of it comes and it affects the top layer of skin. And UVB is the one which causes most sunburns, and it's linked strongly to cancer-like illness. But UVC is not that dangerous, but the fact is UVC get filtered because of the ozone layer what we have, and it usually does not penetrate the Earth's ozone layer. So it doesn't come to Earth most of the time. Now UVC is good for germicidal application, but UVC, sun doesn't deliver UVC directly to Earth because of the ozone layer. So what we did is, or what the scientists did is, they tried to create UVC artificially and then use it for germicidal application. If you see the benefit of UV light and the evolution of UV light is being used for heliotherapy. Heliotherapy is nothing but a natural sunlight healing. So you can see over here, patients used to kept outside just to get that UV healing, so that naturally they are getting cured. And here you can see the second image. UVB is being blocked by window because UVB doesn't travel through the window, and patients are getting UVA for tanning and other purpose. Now what happened is, if you look at the evolution of UV light, in 1903, Neil Rybak Finson, he invented a lamp called Finson curative lamp, and this changed the game. Finson curative lamp is being discovered in 1903, and the industry started using it for phototherapy. And what is phototherapy? Phototherapy is nothing but healing by artificial light. But if you see here, this is very important point, you must pay attention. If you see here, unlike heliotherapy, phototherapy was well designed in terms of lamp positioning and all. Look at the kids over here sitting around a UV lamp, and look at the distance what they are maintaining. This is very important in terms of designing. When we get into UV business, this is something, a message which I want to give to everyone who is there in the business. So the distance is maintained and the dosage is well managed because of the calculation. Until today, the tanning industry, healthcare industry is regularly using UV lamp. Unfortunately, for lighting people, we had to have a pandemic like COVID-19 to understand the benefits and potential of UV. No problem. We are not very late. If you again go back to the history, the first germicidal lamp is being invented by a brand called Westinghouse based in US. So they could make commercially make a UVC germicidal lamp in 1930. And look at the application. Since last 90 years, we are using germicidal lamps for phototherapy. Until then, UV lamps and UVC technology is being used for air purification, water disinfection, and surface disinfection. Like you could see over here, UV lamp is placed inside an AC ducting, and the air is getting disinfected when it passes through the UV lamp. And here, if you see, if you look at your home, the water filter what you are using might have a UV lamp inside and a UV ballast also. Water flows through the UV lamp, and then the water what comes out is free from microorganism and bacteria. And it was widely used for air and water. And this is an era where people are even looking into surface disinfection through UV as well. A lot of areas. And if you see, other than lighting industry, because lighting industry was busy converting fluorescent from transition of LED, and then there was a different industry who was always dealing in UV lamp, and that was HVAC industry and the water purification industry. Now this is the time where lighting industry also can get into, because this UV potential will get us back to those fluorescent days, and the potential is enormous, that like what we had at the fluorescent days. Because wherever there is a space or wherever there is human being, there is a need of disinfecting that area. It's not only for COVID, post-COVID as well, the surface disinfection will become much necessary. Now there is another term which I would like to mention over here is UVGI. UVGI stands for ultraviolet germicidal irradiation. It's nothing but destroying bacteria and viruses. And how it happens, how this germicidal effect is happening, I will tell you. When you apply a certain dosage of UV light at a certain wavelength, there are defined wavelength for germicidal application, and that particular wavelength UV is being applied to a bacteria or virus. What happens is there is a difference between bacteria and virus. Bacteria itself is a living thing, and virus is not a living thing. Virus need a support of a living thing to survive and then duplicate. So here what happens is, when you apply the UV light, it disrupts the DNA and RNA of the bacteria and the virus, and it destroys the reproducing capability. So the game is over. So if you can apply UV, the game is over. Virus and bacteria will get killed. But remember, you need to apply the required nanometer wavelength, that required dosage level. Now, what nanometer? The 200 to 280 nanometer is known as germicidal nanometer, which is UVC light. And there is a question always being asked. I'm going to give answer to that frequently asked question. Which one is the most effective wavelength for germicidal application? The answer is here. Scientist says the most effective wavelength is 265 nanometer. But most widely used effective wavelength is 253.7 nanometer. Since last 90 years, 253.7 nanometer is applied, tested, and proved to be very effective for germicidal application. And nowadays, there is one more invention which has happened. Scientist is seeing the possibilities of using 222 nanometer, that is 222 nanometer as well, for germicidal application, and it is proven as well. Now, there is one more important thing which we must know when we talk about destroying bacteria and virus is the ozone UV. So ozone is being used to kill the viruses and for the disinfection as well. But ozone is normally created at 185 nanometer. How it is getting created? If you take a mercury lamp, when it produces 253.7 nanometer, if the lamp is designed for ozone, the lamp can be with ozone and without ozone. If it is designed for ozone, almost 15% you can have a 185 nanometer as well. Now, what happens is when 253.7 is good enough to disinfect the surface and everything, and when 185 nanometer also comes out from the lamp, it create ozone. How the ozone is created? You know, the O2 oxygen molecule is being dismantled into O1 and O1, and three atoms, O1 plus O1 plus O1 become O3. And trust me, mind you, you should be very careful by using the ozone lamps because it is toxic. It's toxic. It's not advisable for public areas. It is not advisable for air disinfection where public access is there. Even 0.5 parts per million is supposed to be dangerous. And the effect of this 185 nanometer ozone is going to remain from half an hour to 4 hours, depends on the type of the lamp and everything, even after switching off the light. So you have to be very careful when you use ozone thing, but there are definite applications for ozone as well. Now, different types of lamps. UVC light can be artificially created, but there are many ways of doing that. Scientists could do that. These are few types of UVC mercury lamps. Low pressure mercury lamp, medium pressure mercury lamp, and high pressure mercury lamp of different form factor, different holder mounting arrangement with ozone and without ozone. But all these mercury lamps produce only 253.7 nanometer, which is proved to be very, very effective. And certain lamps comes with, like I said, 185 nanometer as well. But my dear friends, one important thing I would like to mention over here, which many of us forget, is a compatible electronic ballast. Is not just because using a ballast the lamp is getting on. No, the UV deliverance is totally depending on the design of ballast and compatibility of lamp and ballast. I would rather suggest it's always better to depend on a technology guy or technology company to get a combo solution instead of using anything and everything available in the market. I would sincerely appreciate BAG like company for their OEM services, because I think they already provide this type of compatibility testing and combo solution. So ballast is very, very important in this case. So UV lamp, mercury lamp, proven technology for germicidal use, wide range of application because it is used since last 90 years. It can also produce ozone, and it's very, very cost effective compared to other options available. And what is next for UVC wavelength and UVC light? There's nothing. Talk of the town, UVC LED. Lot of myth, lot of knowledge is being shared without knowing that whether it is actually correct or not. UVC LED comes in 260 to 280 nanometer, no doubt. But when you use a UVC LED, it can definitely produce UV wavelength of 265 or 270 or anything between 260 to 280, depends on the manufacturer. But you need to have a well-designed UVC module and driver. The driver can be on board as well. But that is again the compatibility of driver and module design in terms of series or parallel is very, very important. This is where again you need to have expertise advice to make a clear and proven UVC module and driver combo. What is the benefit? Most effective wavelength, like we discussed, 2765 is the most effective wavelength. You can get that wavelength from UVC LED. Good for flexible application. Why flexible application? Look at these small devices. You can't use a lamp over there. Only LED can support this type of UVC application. Now, there is one more type of lamp, which is called excimer lamps. And this is going to be a game changer very, very soon. Please pay attention. If you are into UV business, this can be a game changer very soon. The important is this is working on 222 nanometer, 222 nanometer, and it is proven that it is effective for germicidal application. And one more thing, it is tested on mouse. You can see over here, 253.7 nanometer, there is a sunburn on this mouse skin. You can see over here. But when 222 nanometer is applied, nothing is happening. So what happened is scientists could claim that 222 nanometer, which is called far UVC, is human friendly. You can even use this on public areas, but today it is not yet commercialized in a bigger way because of its cost, its high energy, and its of mercury content. It doesn't have any mercury content. That is another advantage. But even the LED industry is also working to bring down that nanometer wavelength to 222. I think so far they could succeed up to 232. Time will say that they also can come into 222 nanometer, which is going to be very effective and human friendly. Mind, my dear lighting industry friends, this can be a game changer. There will be a demand for every luminaire with a UV plus general lighting. That time is not far from today. Now, the most important slide of today is how to understand the real UVC efficacy of a lamp. When you buy a 36, look at the lamp over here. When you buy, for example, a 36 watt mercury UVC lamp, it doesn't mean that it is delivering 36 watt of UV. It is mentioned, the mentioned wattage is only the power consumption. It's delivering only 28% of UV. That means if you are buying a 36 or 40 watt, you are getting only 11 watt or 12 watt as the UV. And rest all thing where it goes. It 21% goes as a visible light. So whatever blue light you are getting from that lamp is not UV. UV is invisible. Blue light is visible because recently I heard someone saying, I'm getting very good blue light from the UV, so lamp is good. No, UV is not visible. And what you could see as a blue light is the visible waste. Nothing can happen with that visible light. It can't be used for germicidal application. And infrared lights are coming that 34%, which is not again visible. And rest 17% is convect heat. So the electric energy, when it convert to UV energy, 17% is lost as heat. So what you need to understand, if you are not driving this lamp with a suitable compo, well-designed bellas, when I'm saying well-designed bellas, I have seen people using simple fluorescent bellas because the lamp is giving blue light. My dear friends, please don't get into the trap. The milliampere rating of 160 milliampere, 425 milliampere, 600 milliampere, and 800 milliampere. Even after giving that particular milliampere, the lamp doesn't take required voltage, then you will not get the UV what is required. That's the reason again and again I am telling everyone into this industry or in this business is always get help of an expert who can deliver you a suitable, compatible electronic bellas which can get you the claimed UV from that lamp. So next time when you see, you need to look into the UV output, not on the wattage. See over here, a 39 watt UV lamp is only giving 13 watt of UV. Come on, it's only 1/3. And when you design the system, you can't consider it as a 39 watt. You need to consider it as only 13 watt. And look at the UVC. Again, very sad. UVC is having very, very low UV output. And today the UVC LED, not even issue. So here we are talking about around 28, 30, 33%. Here it is hardly 8 to 10% efficacy. So that means if you look at the UVC LED, LEDs are available from 8 milliwatt to 60 milliwatt. It depends on the wattages. This is what available in the industry. But the good news with LED is efficacy is not the only criteria for design. I'll give you math. I will give a calculation. Look at a 6 or 8 watt UVC lamp over here. So you are getting around 2 or 3 watt UV output at the surface. And on an average, if you are using a 60 milliwatt LED, UV LED, you need to have 34 LEDs. And today LED is very costly. You know that even the 10 milliwatt UV LEDs and all are costing 180, 190 rupees, I believe. So if you calculate your 36 watt mercury lamp equivalent LED will become in thousands. But it is not the reality. There are many other savings associated with LED. Unidirectional benefit. What does that unidirectional benefit? Unidirectional benefit is now the lamp is in round shape. So most of the UV, some part of the UV is also wasted, even if you could reflect it in a better way, but something is get wasted. So LED being unidirectional, you get more advantage of that. And 265 nanometer is proven as most effective. So you can still save something from that. But still, LED has to go long way to match the efficacy and pricing of mercury lamp. But it's having its own advantage for flexible application. Now, when you design an LED module with experts, again, here I would suggest the OEM guys like the companies like BAG and all. So they design the LED model and give with compatible drivers so that the UV is clearly confirmed and proved. And you can even go for a moldable glasses for UVC. There are moldable glasses available which UV can pass through that, and moldable glass lenses are also available for UV design. But when you go for a moldable glass design, please understand, please calculate the absorption, transmission, reflection, thermal resistance, UV stability, and many other things. Here also you may need some expert services. So I'm getting into the next slide, which is about UV dosage. Now we have seen UV nanometer 253.7 or 265, whatever may be the case. When you apply, you need to apply a certain dosage to kill the virus. Now here, what is being shown is the family of coronavirus. COVID-19 is not the only coronavirus which is being identified. There is a family of coronavirus. It was there since long. And a dosage is being calculated based on that family. COVID-19 dosage is yet to declare. But still, while we do the designing, what we consider is, we go for the maximum of 241 joules per square meter. And 1 joules is 1 watt second. You can see over here. 1 watt of UV applied for 1 second is called 1 joules. And you can have different logs of 90%, 99%, 99.9, 99.99. And the dosage is what? The dosage is watt second, which is joule, applied on 1 square meter is what the dosage is. And you can easily calculate the dosage if you have some expertise, knowledge, or if you know someone who understands the dosage calculation. And I'm going to show you a case of 1 meter into 1 meter into 2.5 meter height cabin. The dosage calculated over here for minimum 7 joules per square meter, you need to keep the lamp for 14 seconds. And for maximum 241, you need to keep it for 8 minutes. How the calculation is happening? Look at here. We consider 2 lamp, one is of 21 watt and one is of 39 watt. And look at here, it's only the power consumption, but the real UV is only 7 watt. And here the real UV is only 13 watt. And what the calculation says, if you really want to have 7 joules per square meter, we need to keep this lamp for 26 seconds. And if we need 241 joules per square meter, we need to keep it for 15 minutes. So what we did is, we went for a higher wattage lamp, which is of 39 and 13 UV. So the time got reduced. We can get the same disinfection at 14 seconds. And if you really want 241 joules, we can keep it for 8 minutes and then get it. You need to reduce the time further, go for a better design using a different lamp, which is having high efficacy. Now, how the calculation is done? We are doing a lot of projects in UV now. People approach us for the support to do the calculation, to get the knowledge and to do the design. And how we do the design? Nothing, no magic. It's very simple as the lighting design. So here the inverse square law is applicable. So inverse square law of light. What does it say is, if you keep a light source over here, and if you take the energy level at 1 meter, say about it is showing 1000. And if you extend it from 1 meter to 2 meter, this will become 1000 divided by 2 square. That is 1000 divided by 4. It will reduce by 250. So 1000 unit is reduced by 250. And what happens if you go further, 3 meter? is 1000 divided by 3 square. That's 9. So it will reduce up to 111, So this is how the designing calculation is done. So the more height you keep, that is the reason I have seen industry people, they even make lighting fixtures with UV of 8 watt and keep at a height of 3 meter. Nothing is going to happen, my dear friends. These are useless applications if you use without calculating the real effect and dosage. I'm giving you two cases what we did for a major industry, those who are making UV cabinets. See here a case of 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 meter cabinet. The dosage calculated based on a 36 watt lamp, we could get around 306 joules. How? Because the height was 600 mm height. The lamp was placed at 600 mm height. But here, the other box, it is 40 mm by 30 mm by 400 mm by 300 mm by 45 mm. That means the cabin is of 90 mm, but the lamps were kept at 45 mm for the document disinfection and currency disinfection and all. Look at the dosage what we could get. So if it is only 40 mm, the dosage is very high, even at 26. Even if you use it for 2 seconds or 10 seconds or something like the 20 seconds. So that is the timing. 20 seconds is what we calculate. And instead of that, if you keep a 36 watt, that to 6 numbers of 36 watt, at a height of 600, it is getting reduced to 306 joules per square meter. Most important slide of the day, the real design. This is the case of a hospital room. And look at the UV stand. I'm sure many of you are making this type of UV stand. And the attendant came in and then he just kept the UV stand over there. And because he is being instructed to go out when the UV is on, he went out because he is being instructed to come back after 15 minutes and he will simply remove the UV stand and then go away. But look at the dosage applied in different location. Let's take the case of this J location, okay? J, the dosage is not even bare minimum. J is the place where the nurse is going to come and then sit. She will be under the impression that the disinfection has happened, so I can peacefully go there and then sit. No. So this design is very, very important. This is what we exactly work for projects when we do the complete project design. I'm doing something for the Dental Doctors Association in South. They are working exactly on the same thing. Each and every point to be disinfected is calculated during the design. This is much, much higher than what we do in a lighting design options. So there was questions normally asked for which type of measuring instruments are there for UV measurement. There are many, my dear friends. UV radiometer is there for intensity measurement. You can buy directly. But when you buy UV radiometer, please pay attention. When you buy UV radiometer, you need to specify the nanometer because the measurement instrument is different for different nanometer. So you need to specify that I'm going to measure 253.7 or I'm going to measure 265 and buy that type of meter. The same meter can't be used for two different nanometers. And there are UV dosimeters available where you can see the actual dosage per the microwatt or milliwatt per square centimeter. And you can even see the peak irradiance and UV dosage. And there are spheres available where you can even clearly see the wavelength and all other parameters of lamp and your UVC LED. So many type of measuring instrument. Another question which I would like to address over here is what to refer, what standard, which laboratory, where we can do all these things. Do you have any BIS for UV and all? Unfortunately, there is no BIS applicable for UV lamps or fixtures so far, but the industry is working hard to get that because the penetration of fake equipments, instruments, lamps are too much now. We need to stop that somewhere. Otherwise, it is going to be harmful for the applications and it is going to spoil our credibility, the industry's credibility as well. So my dear friends, I strongly recommend to you to get this ISO standards, which is 15858 2016. Look at the clauses from 3.1 to 3.23. Everything is covered over here. And go for ISO 15727 for UVC devices. You will get all the knowledges. Nothing. You don't need to depend one Biju John or someone else or some experts or some consultants. Everything is available in that standard. And EN 170 for personal eye protection. EN 142 551 is measurement and assessment of personal exposure. And I would rather recommend you to go for ISO 15714 for 2019 as well. This is the method of evaluating the UV dosage. What about the labs? There are many labs. Unfortunately, you don't have a single lab who can test everything. You need to depend someone for the nanometer. You need to depend someone for the dosage. You need to depend some virology lab to assess the effectiveness of your dosage. But there are labs today available, but there is no standard of BIH or something similar. But this is a better standard where you can get a lot of awareness and norms. Safety. I have only one word to say. Electric current is good for use, but don't touch it, my dear friends. You may die. UVC is very good for use, but don't expose to it. You will be in trouble. So the thinnest skin what we have is our eye skin. It can get damaged for a longer exposure or even for a shorter exposure. It is as good as you are doing welding activities without using a welding shield. You know, the soft skin can have sunburn. So always wear protective eyewear, lab coat, protective gloves, neck gaiter, UV face mask and face shield, everything is available. One more question I would like to address over here is the effectiveness of UV or effect of UV on plastics and paint. It can get deteriorate. At least there will be a reduction of 10% life cycle for plastic and paints. There are UV resistant plastic, but you check with the manufacturers, most of the cases that is UVA and UVB resistant plastic. It may not be UVC resistant. So you need to check when you use the upholstery, when you use the plastic, when you use the paints. And if you are making a luminaire for UV, it's always better to use aluminum as the body. And it's better to either aluminum or stainless steel, and it is better to have a protective mesh instead of because you can't keep a diffuser or a glass or anything because UV doesn't pass through that. So it's always better to protect, and it can damage the plants as well. So there was a question, what the control lighting, smart lighting guys are going to do with UV lighting. A very big opportunity is, my dear friends. We discussed with EasyLux Germany for developing a sensor for UV. They helped us like anything. They developed a 2-channel sensor. One channel can be used for general lighting. When the person is there, general lighting will be on. And the other channel can be used for UV lighting. When the person is not there, UV lighting will be on. And that you have 2 options. You can keep it for infinite or you can even schedule the timing. A small device with very low cost device, but the automation is done. Smart lighting people, you have much better to do in UV lighting. Disinfection management. Now we are doing 2 industrial unit, bigger industrial unit in size for their complete planned disinfection through this control system. You can control and monitor. Even if you see the complete building management system can be, the UV controls can be incorporated to the BMS system as well. You can monitor, control and everything from outside. You can see how many lamps are working. You can put it off even if a security guard comes in by accident, the entire light will be off. There are so many ways where smart lighting guys and home automation guys can do much better in UV lighting. So we need to wind up. We have a very limited time. So we have panelists as well. So let me tell you, the scope and potential is very, very high. Where everywhere where human being access is there you need to have a UV light. Fluorescent era is going to come back. People are going to buy huge amount of UV lamps and UV system. Luminaire manufacturers, it is time for you to get into luminaire manufacturing for UV. You need to always take the help of OEM supplies for components and other things, but you are masters in making luminaires, so you will be the beneficiaries. Lighting OEMs, the enormous potential. Project business, dealers, distributors, and the opportunities are enormous. So we are also taking our stand. We are there to give you a lot of knowledge in UV. So this type of, I would encourage Messe Frankfurt like platform. Messe is always there with the lighting industry. I should appreciate them. So I would encourage them to conduct this type of programs again and again so that people can refresh. So we will be happy to share our knowledge free of cost to everyone in this industry. But unfortunately, when someone approach us individually, it is very difficult to manage them individually. So what we does is we conduct consultancy services for end-to-end solutions and all, if at all any corporate. So these are the services which is available. And I would appreciate the effort taken by BAG for lighting industry. They are the first one who came up with an OEM service for UV lighting. Combo solution with the UV lamp and bellas, 100% tested. You don't need to worry about the UV thing. A good service, Mr. Praveen and team, you have done. UV lamp plus bellas, UV LED module plus combo, automation, drivers, everything. It's better to depend expert and then focus on our fixture manufacturing so that the system will come up very well. And finally, you all know that Roshni Bazaar is there as exclusive supporting e-commerce platform for lighting industry. We also try to contribute for this UV business little bit. In few days, our Roshni Bazaar is getting upgraded to a full-fledged e-commerce site where you can directly buy UV system by paying through credit cards or debit card. So that advance payment issue is also taken care of. This is what we could render as a service to industry. So that's all from my side in terms of presentation. We will address your questions. But before that, I would like to go back to the panelists. We have Mr. Praveen, PS Praveen from BAG, the Managing Director of BAG, who has done a lot of things in OEM sector for developing UV products. And we have Mr. Partha Banik, the President of India Bull. So first, let me come to you, Mr. BS Praveen. Can you, Mr. Praveen is there, right? Divya?
Yes.
All right, all right. So I'm sorry, I couldn't see. So the question is, Mr. Praveen, you are doing so many things in OEM service for UV industry. Can you just elaborate what all services or what is your view on this OEM services for UV lighting?
We recently realized that there's a lot of interest in UV throughout not only lighting industry but other people also. But most of the people don't know where to go, what to buy, and then there is knowledge gap as well. So we being the we having expertise in terms of drivers and ballasts, both for fluorescent as well as LEDs. So we decided to make and sell the combos of the right kind of UV lamp and the ballast, and then right kind of LED and the driver. So range is available with us for FL UV lamp and ballast for larger scale, higher dosage applications, and then and the driver for smaller applications. And in terms of knowledge also, we have you, BQ John, as our partner. So people can have the knowledge and also the components, and we would welcome people to develop their own products for UV applications with this kind of support.
That's good, because you were always there as a OEM support team. BAG was always there to support lighting manufacturers. I really appreciate your effort. Going forward, Mr. Partha, India Bulls is one of the major lighting brands in India, and you have done a wonderful job in terms of getting into UV full-fledged. That is what I have noticed. What do you think? What is the potential you could see? Because you are already advanced in UV products. So what is the potential you could see for this UV business?
Excellent presentation, Biju. I must congratulate you. I think it will give a lot of clarity to lighting manufacturers and the industry users, industry and residential user, what is the right and what is, what is the way ahead or way forward. UV post-COVID, COVID-19 landscape remains, dynamic and ever evolving, and like it happened during 9/11 terrorist attack, everybody was geared up with surveillance equipments, cameras. Today everybody is talking about UV because UV is nothing new. It was there for many years, 90 years, you say, but it was having a very restricted application. But today, UV is going to get a wide acceptance, and probably everybody in all spaces, whether it's a commercial office space, whether it's a warehousing, storage, or whether it's industry, manufacturing, everybody is going to use UV as a general disinfectant. One is obviously killing COVID virus, but it has much beyond applications, and disinfection is important for all the workspaces as well as the place we live in. So UV will have a huge UVC. I'm particularly telling UV market-wise. If you see globally, it is about $300 million market today.
Very big.
UV, and it is projected to be a $1.2 billion by 2026. So another 5-6 years going to be about 4-5 times. There are CAGR calculations, but relevance here is that majority of this growth will happen in UVC. Currently the whole UV world is limited to medical applications and some select applications for UVB. So UVC, and also I see UVC LED chip. So UVC LED currently is where we were in 2008, 10, very limited knowledge and application. But then, a lot of advantage was there with the LED chip, and then it took over the conventional light sources. So what I see is UVC LED is today the cost is high because there's no, because the scale is too low. But with the scale, the cost also will come down, and it is more effective than the mercury-based UV lamps. So, and disposal, etc., is easy. LED chip can have a very precise control on the nanometer, the wavelength. So it will take over very soon, and a huge growth will come. I'll tell you a lot of applications, right? Like the office space, where we have multiple meeting rooms, and which are used by many set of people. There are visitors, the outsiders who come in and use those meeting rooms for a short meeting, go away. Obviously, the day will come very soon. Once we'll back to new normal, those meeting rooms should be disinfected after each meeting of half an hour, 45 minutes. This meeting disinfect with UVC, and then the next meeting can start. So 15 minutes gap, and with UV and automation integrate together with the intelligence built in, it can do wonder in terms of, it's a much more effective disinfection method than chemical cleaning. Chemical cleaning has its own disadvantage in terms of, this one is this chemical, it causes pollution. You cannot use everything for chemical cleaning. UVC is a physical cleaning methodology. Yeah. And moreover, I'm not a medical science expert, but the research says that it kills pathogens also.
Yeah. So it's very effective in terms of disinfection.
Antibiotic resistant infection. So UVC will really grow in leaps and bounds in coming days, and we are gearing up for that. We are earlier we have luminaires, developed luminaires which are used for multiple applications. Same luminaire. Today we are in the process of developing light fittings, which will have one UV and one general lighting SMD, so that one can use this as ambient light. Same thing, same luminaire can be used for disinfectant, in the particular chosen period, and it's all possible with like EasyLux sensors, and IoT applications. One can decide. So as for
a good initiative done by you, Mr. Partha, because someone like you have to take the initiative, then the industry will follow. And you are always being a trendsetter. I know you personally, and your initiatives. It's really good.
I'm calling you by first name, Biju, because I think it's very informal. Our chat is.
Okay. So
I'm not telling you, Biju, Mr. Biju.
I have something to ask you, because Mr. Praveen, your BAG is dealing in different combo solutions like UV tube and its electronic ballast, and UVC LED and its driver. According to you, what potential you could see for among these two? Which one you think that will have a longer potential?
Before that, before answering your question, I will refer to one question which I saw in the question box. Somebody was saying, is this a sustainable business, UE, C and all that, or is it something which is going to die down soon? Now that answer to that will be very interesting, because answer to that will be very related to how long is the corona going to last, which nobody in the world today knows. But even if we assume that this corona at this level at which it is today, it goes away, say by end of next year, I am hypothetically thinking. But the awareness of sterilization and being safe from viruses and bacteria, which has been generated worldwide, it is going to remain, if not for long, but for at least next 5-6 years. So any industry which is built around this, if they can have an outlook for 5-6 years, I think that's not bad. Very few industries think for 50 years or so. So having said that, your question was about LED and the fluorescent. Now, in your presentation, you have made it very clear that uh, wherever there is higher dosage needed in higher volume, bigger area and all, LED is not going to work unless there is a very drastic change in LED efficiency. LED cost might come down, but LED efficiency today, which you said 1 to 3%, is not going to suddenly become 40 or 50%. That is going to remain. So it means there will be a revival of the fluorescent technology, which had died down in terms of visible lighting. So it will come back for UV. But LED will have its own application range, because there are small places where you want to make a small chamber to sanitize. When you get home, you want to sanitize whatever you had carried outside, or you brought some stuff from outside. You want to put it in a chamber and sanitize. So those kind of places, LED will be more useful because of size and being able to place at different angles and things like that. So both, I think, are going to run parallelly. As of now, fluorescent UV is something which has quickly revived, because there were already people who were supplying to water purification and hospitals or air conditioner, air purification. So they are able to revive quickly. As far as LED is concerned, this knowledge gap is there. In fact, I myself, till a couple of months back, I was thinking that why would people go for FL and they will just switch over to LED. Nowadays, it's everything LED. But then I didn't know that there was so much difference in efficiency. So both are going to go in parallel, but they will have their own application ranges. That is my thinking at this stage.
How the industry is going to restrict the fake equipments and those equipments which is flowing in the market, hand fans and many equipments you could see. How we are going to control this?
That is a big concern. And a couple of days back, I was in a session with some BIS people, and they also BIS realizes there is no regulation as such for UV. Even the standards and all are not properly in place. So BIS has urgently started working on it. And the government also, once they see that so many spurious equipments are coming, and particularly that it being harmful to people, government also would probably act quickly. But again, the speed of government is something which is debatable. But then I am sure something would happen, and that is what is going to prevent this kind of spurious equipment. But this webinar and these kind of events itself will help in curbing those kind of equipment, because in absence of proper equipment, reputed equipment, people resort to buying something which is cheap, which is unknown. But people also realize that this is their safety. That much awareness is there among people in general. Once they realize it matters to their safety, and if they know that reputed, properly tested equipment is available, they will go for that. Today, that is not available. That's why they resort to anything and everything.
Yeah. So anyway, Mr. Praveen, thank you so much. In fact, I would appreciate your initiative for that OEM service for UV lighting. That's something which is really commendable, and I would see that this type of service may restrict this type of faulty equipments and all flowing into the market. You are always helpful for the industry, Mr. Partha. I have one last question for you. I have seen. One of the UV product development what IB has done in terms of dual optics. I'm sure you might have seen some potential for keeping one fixture for general lighting and at the center some UV LEDs or something I have seen. Could you see that type of business potential in future?
So to me, UV disinfection is going to stay for long now, because everything is going to be a new normal, and UV not only plays a role in corona, it is general disinfection for killing bacteria, viruses, molds, and algae. Many things, as I said, which cannot be cleaned by chemical disinfection can be cleaned, and people will be more conscious now on the health and maintaining some standards for the workspaces. So if you see corona, the countries who maintain a good kind of environment, safe environment like Japan, they have less affected than the others. So it's going to be a new normal for many workspaces. And advantage, as Mr. Praveen also said rightly, the advantage of UV chip is that it's small. So I can have a one light fitting. A light fitting has an omnipresence in any sphere of the light, whether it's an office, whether it's a home, or whether it's a manufacturing area. So I can have one light fitting which can give you a normal light, the user, and can also give a disinfectant at the particular frequency, like the manufacturing area, IBay, which goes in the manufacturing shop floors. So one can, before starting the production, probably with the required dosage, one can run it for 1 hour when nobody is there, and then it can do the normal lighting. And IES, Illuminating Engineering, says that upper room UV is the most effective. UVC lighting is, disinfection method is the most effective in the upper room disinfection.
Right.
So that's where the dual optic comes in picture, and they also say that in-duct UV lighting, what you were talking about sometime back, UVGI, probably UV disinfection, upper room UV disinfection is better than UVGI disinfection methodology for dark sweet sprays, lot of microbes, etc. in a large office space.
That's correct. So we have a limitation of timing. I think Divya, I need to hand over it to you. It's already 4:02. Thank you everyone for listening to us. Divya, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. John, Mr. Praveen, and Mr. Banik. The last 1 hour was really insightful. We've all learned a lot today. I can see from the comments, everybody wants to know more about it. But yes, we do have time constraints. Especially for everyone who's attending and requesting, what we're going to do is we're going to take a lot of questions offline. I'd request the panelists and Mr. John to, help us answer these questions, and we'll try to put everything up on your social media handles. What you guys have to do is follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, where we'll try, like I said, and get most of these questions answered for you in the next couple of days. I would also like to thank Roshni Bazaar, LACMA, and Elcoma for always supporting us, be it the exhibitions and now the webinars as well. Now, before you all go, I just want to tell you, there will be a survey that will pop up on your screen when you leave this session. It's about a 1-minute survey. Make sure you answer everything in that survey so that we understand what else can we do for you going forward. And yes, stay safe, stay connected. Thank you once again. And everybody have a good weekend. Thank you.